Hey everybody. Okay, no promises, but this may be one of those videos that you're going to want to come back to bookmark and come back to, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm testing a little bit about writing on glass with some paint markers and some different even Sharpies here, because I was just kind of curious what's going to happen myself. So let me just set up for you what my test is going to look like. First of all, a caveat, these Deco color paint markers, they're oil-based paint markers. I have had these in my drawer forever, so they may be dried out and rotten. We'll see when we open them up. I also have 3 different kinds of Sharpie here, and then I've got these Pilot brand gold and silver paint markers. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 different tests in a couple of different ways. The first is a full fuse. So I have another project. I'm going to take this up to a full fuse and see how this does. And I'm going to do it uncapped and capped and on the underside, because as I think about this as a potential solution for signing your glass, you know, a lot of times you're signing your pieces on the back. And so I wanted to see what would happen at a fuse temperature on the underside as well as something on the above. And I'm going to do it on white, and I'll do black because I'm interested in what the gold looks like on both as an example, but some of this black isn't going to show up on the black, obviously, and the white is not going to show up on white. So a little bit of a mixed test here regarding that. But I'm going to do white and black, capped and uncapped, and on the back. That's the first one at full fuse. Then I'm going to do white and black, uncapped, but on the back, I'll do top and bottom, but uncapped on this, and I'm going to do more of a tack fuse. I have a lot of projects that I fire really between about 1350, 1375, and 1400, and in particular projects that I would like to sign on the back. And so I'll do full fuse here, but I also am going to do one at about I'll make a final call, but 1375, 1400 to see what that looks like as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take notes so that I know kind of the order of what I put in, so that when I take them out, I can kind of compare them again. But I'm going to go ahead and just I'll put this on time lapse because you don't care, but I'm going to go ahead and shake these up, get them running, test them out, draw up all my pieces here, and then we'll put the full fuse ones in and see what they look like when they come out. Okay, so very interesting results here. So I put this in for a full fuse. This was at 1475 for 15 minutes was my hold. And as you can see, not much of it held up at all. So that Deco, the gold is still on there, and it's kind of black, and the white, surprisingly, I don't know that you can see it in the video very well, but I can read the name white and the streak. Now, uncapped seem to have done better, so the black has almost fully disappeared. Gold turned kind of black with a little blue undertones in where it's capped, and the white actually stayed fairly white. Then the Sharpies almost all burned off from what I can tell on here. Now, we already know generally that black Sharpie burns off, but I was just curious about the bronze and the silver. I wouldn't rely on those to burn off, but it appears here that they largely did. Excuse me. Here's that Pilot paint pen in gold. Now, some of it stayed, and maybe I just need to shake it up a little bit better, but a lot of it turned blue. And then this Pilot silver pen as well. And then similar results on the black. So I think what I'm seeing here is the Pilot silver here on the end. The gold kind of disappears. There's a little bit of a Sharpie mark, I think, here. And then you can see this was, I believe, the white. It's kind of hard to tell now. That was this Deco, but it almost looks like it turned kind of gold. So interesting results there. Now let's flip it over and look at the back. So when it was on its back against the kiln shelf, you got a lot of that color that stayed. You can see that the black paint marker has disappeared. Again, that Deco black disappeared. The Deco silver kind of stayed, oh no, gold, excuse me. gold kind of stayed there. It's harder to see on the black, but it stayed on the white and basically turned black. And then the white is surprisingly easy to see on both, again, against the kiln shelf. Then there were the 3 Sharpie markers. The last one here in my lineup, let me check. Go back to my notes. The silver. So it looks like the silver one may have stayed a little bit, again, against the kiln shelf. As a matter of fact, these weren't on the shelf. To be really technical, they were on papyrus kiln paper. Then there is the Pilot Gold again, which turns black, and then the Pilot Silver, which stayed quite nice and silver on the black, but it almost kind of disappears on the white one, so you don't see that very much at all. So there you go on doing full fuse, capped and uncapped on the front and the back. If it's back on the back protected against the kiln shelf, it seems to stay fairly well. I have a little bit of moisture here in my towel, so I was just seeing, does that come off? Am I getting that off? I don't know. It almost looks like it's coming off a little bit. Maybe that's just my imagination. But anyway, next up are the 2 samples that I'm going to put in at a tack fuse. So these were 1475 for 15 minutes. I'm going to do a tack fuse now at 1375 for about 10 minutes, and we'll see how those pieces come out. Okay, so this is these are the 2 samples that were on more of a tack fuse. So I put these in, no capping, with just straight on the kiln shelf, no kiln paper underneath either, just right on the kiln shelf at a 1375 for 10 minutes. That's something that I do fairly often at the firings that I like for a variety of pieces that I might want to sign the back, and so, or the front for that matter. And so here are the results. So once again, consistent with the full fuse, this Deco Black has just completely disappeared. But interestingly, the gold and the white seem to have stayed on there fairly well. Now this is the top, but then you can see them on the back side as well. And I'm sure this isn't coming through on camera as much as it is in person. Now the gold on the black kind of disappeared a little bit more, but the white actually almost kind of turns gold or looks a little more yellow on the front, and on the back it's a true white, and the gold kind of stuck around on the back there as well. So I should have cleaned that off before I brought it over. So the Deco white did really well on the black. It actually surprisingly did well on the white as well. And this was just a sheet of white Tecta that I used, so it may look different on opaque white, and of course I'm talking all bullseye colors. But the Deco Gold, it got a little more dark, almost black, but it's kind of I mean, it's certainly legible. The Sharpie, the black, the bronze, and are completely gone, completely fired off on the front, and pretty much on the back too. I can see, you're not gonna be able to see it, but I can see a very faint outline from the bronze here. And then the silver did kind of stay on there, just barely on the white, and again, just barely on the back side. On the black here, pretty much gone. The Sharpie, except for the silver, again, kind of stuck around a little bit. And then on the back of it, same thing, Sharpie kind of stuck around just a little bit. There are some very faint traces of the other Sharpie. So if I were not wanting to see it, then I would definitely clean that Sharpie off, because it can potentially stick. Particularly, it's interesting, the black on the black, again, you're probably not seeing this in the video, but the black on the black I can actually see a little bit, which is kind of a surprising finding for me. So I have never really relied on the, oh, Sharpie burns off. I really try to clean all of that stuff off. And this almost kind of just justifies my belief in that. And then finally, the Pilot on the black, this is the Pilot Gold, and then this is the Pilot Silver. That's a really strong color on that silver. And then on the underside, same thing. The gold, you know, kind of it actually picked up a little bit of my kiln wash, but the silver did pretty well. And then on the white, you've got the gold, so the gold really looks nice. It's not very gold. It really turns more of a brown, almost black. So you just need to know that. Now it you know, is nice and solid color. The silver kind of disappears against this white. There's some texture and I can see it. And on the underside, same thing. The silver is there. You can't see it as much, but the gold is on there nice. So my takeaways, if I'm going to sign something with one of these before I put it into the kiln, you know, I think back and that gold on the deco did fairly well, even at full fuse temperature. And so did the pilot gold on the back, on that white piece, and kind of the same thing on the black as well. And then, you know, both did fairly well here. The deco white did fairly well as a signature on the black, and this pilot silver did well on the both. So I've got a couple of options here to think about if I'm going to sign work before I fire it. And hope you found this interesting. If you learned something, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I try to do experiments like this every now and then most of it is just me kind of fumbling through some projects and maybe you learning as we go along. And if you haven't already, please follow me on Facebook. So there's a lot more activity that's starting to happen on Facebook. I'm sharing things there that I'm not sharing elsewhere. And so here's the URL if you want to go check that out. And it's a little more interactive. You can post photos of things that you're doing and share those with us as well. So hope everybody's doing well. Catch you later. See you the next time. Bye-bye.